When I was in India, I saw this amazing flute player. I said, you know, how do you play that quarter tone? He said, oh, very simple. He didn't have to slide around. He just went right on it. He said, let me show you something. And he picked up the flute and he started not on this or this. He started on the... And from that, he played a perfect major scale. I said, wait a minute, that would take about a month and a half to slide around. I said, how do you do that? He said, it's very simple. And I said, boy, now I've got, just like those TV commercials, you too could be a guitar star, the life of the party, become a multi-millionaire in a year, and get a $99 guitar thrown in for just one lesson. So I thought I was going to get that, plus the magical Eastern mystical guru El Cheapo fast solution. I said, well, I don't see how that's possible. It's so simple. I said, well, what is it? I can tell you. You practice. I said, uh-oh. So I transposed that. I just want to tell you all to when I was at the Marlborough Music Festival, I was the composer in residence, and the great Rudolf Serkin, the pianist, used to say, I show the pianist how to practice. You sing. Pablo Casals said, you must sing on the cello. Wow, 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 wow. And the flute player, Marcel Moyes, would dance around the room and play this fantastically beautiful. I think that these famous musicians to play on top of Old Smoky or the Red River Valley and sing it and play it and really do something with it to make it personal and in the style of what the music was. And then when I played with Dizzy Gillespie for his 70th birthday, we had this extraordinary band. I was just lucky to be chosen to be horned in it. And he said, and Lawa Schiffer wrote these really hard arrangements. So we were playing away, and Dizzy said, all right, fellas, cool it. So we stopped, and he said, put down your horns. We all put, he said, now, sing this after I do. So we picked it up. He said, now play it. So we started to play. We couldn't quite get it, but we got a lot closer than we ever would have otherwise. And he said, if you can sing it, you can play it. And that's, I realize whether it's folkloric music or symphony players or whatever the idiom, that's the key for everything. And when one of the great trombone players, Steve Terray, said, Dizzy, I can't sing, he said, everybody's a singer and everybody's a drummer. And folk music always embodies that, and you learn to sing, but if you do, that's true with anything and everything to be part of it. So this is one. You don't have to sing. You don't have to sing the Dombek part or the melody, but we're going to ask you to clap along. Chop, 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 do back, do back. But you don't have to do. We don't need to rehearse that because over rehearsing can be bad for the central nervous system and the digestive system as well. So from the Middle East to the middle upper west side, is that where we're in Midtown, I guess? The Midtown, East side. Are we the East side?
Yes.
Murray Hill. I should know, I lived in the city for 40 years. Murray Hill. Yes. Murray Hill, fashionable Murray Hill. We're going to now take a trip with no passport, no visa, no frequent flyers, no extra gas, no losing a day's work, all the way over to the Middle East, because that's where the music will take us. Big 10-3-0, we're going to say goodbye and hope we see you soon again in Clearwater or any place, anytime, anywhere, sometime. And this again is a beautiful song that in 1960s, during what they called another branding, the summer of love. That was 52 years ago, so some of you folks can ask your grandparents what a great time we were having that summer. And I was sitting on McDougal Street when they still had very inexpensive coffee houses and little places. I was with Richie Havens, the great singer who we all still love and miss so much, and Jack Kerouac, the author. And we were just sitting there drinking some coffee, and Richie said, you know, they've had branding for the Bohemians and then the Beat Generation, the Beatniks, and then the hippies, and then the yuppies. He said, now this summer's branding, the summer of love. He said, there was no more Beat Generation. Because the greatest crime in America, as we know, is to fall out of fashion if you're ever in fashion, which is even worse. So he said, you know, I've never seen so many angry-looking people as they did this summer, because no one knows exactly what they're supposed to wear or who they're supposed to be for those 2 months in this fashion. I don't know, he said, the thing that upsets me most is when they say, don't trust anybody over 30. He said, I'm over 30. He said, I'm a pretty trustworthy person. He said, Amram, you're almost 40, and you're a pretty trustworthy guy. He said, Kerouac, you're over 40, and certainly people trust you. And then he said on the radio, we heard an AM radio broadcast of some great singer who was way over 30, named Louis Armstrong. And he was singing this beautiful song that was done about something so simple and so beautiful that it was amazing to think that that would be on the radio at all. And only 2 months ago, I found out from a friend that Bob Thiel, who was one of the people who had written it, gave a copy to Louis Armstrong. Bob was a record executive as well as being a great songwriter and a lover of folk music and jazz and classical and all sincere music from the heart. And Louis Armstrong loved that song, and he said, I'm going to do that. Bob Thiel said, wow. So the record company said, you can't do that. He's an old, washed-up person, and that song's too corny. The summer of love. We would not accept something that corny and simple. Well, Louis Armstrong said, I want to do that, man. So Louis Armstrong came down with his own band, and the receptionist apparently recognized him, called up the person, and they said, Bob Thiel, get him out of the studio. You can't record that or you're going to be fired. So they went in. Bob locked the doors of the studio. They were banging and calling the cops and doing everything. And before they could stop it, they had recorded this beautiful song. So they fired Bob that day, and fortunately he was such a great guy that the sound engineer loved it and gave him a copy of the song, and it's been played ever since and made the summer of love very lovable, because that's when it was premiered. And we forgot all about the summer of love, and everybody remembers this song. And I think it's appropriate here at the People's Voice Cafe to remind us all, regardless of what's happening on CNN and other founts of misinformation, it was, is, and always will be a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me, for you. And I think to myself, what wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed days, and the dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are often on the faces of the people walking by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what wonderful world. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what wonderful world. So much for it. And now remaining 8 minutes and 27 seconds, we would like to do something to have all of you sing along in the great grand folk tradition, which is not only the folk tradition, it's the human tradition. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and see all the people around the world that all sing together without career counselors or demographic experts telling you that they're not qualified to have a good time. And this is just, it's amazing. 2 nights ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I was playing at the Guthrie Center, decided they wanted to have a jazz night, and we did some of the pieces from that piece by Thelonious Monk and Oscar Pettiford, who has band I played with, who was from Okmulgee, and some other great jazz artists, and also ended with someone who transcended all those categories, named Leadbelly. And without knowing it, Leadbelly's granddaughter happened to be there because she does work with the Guthrie Foundation. And so it was really nice to see that. And we usually have people come up and in that grand tradition of all musics and join us. So if anybody wants to come along and sing, or if you brought an instrument wants to play, we'll do it in the key of C. There's a flute player here, whose name I've forgotten. We played together at a party years and years ago, which reminded me. And Mike, if you want to come up and sing a chorus of that, that would be great. Mike Glick's here. I know he knows all the great literature. And anybody else that wants to come up, and if we all outnumber the audience, that's okay, so we're all each other's audience anyway. We're going to do, in our remaining 6 minutes and 38 seconds, Irene, Good Night. So anybody who wants to come up, please come up. Don't be shy. You don't need a brochure or a career counselor's statement or a bio. Because the music's not about that. I'd introduce everybody, but then since I have to get their names, the concert will be over. So please welcome the Vegetarian Choir and Guest Orchestra.
Good night, Irene. Good night.
somewhere in the corner on what they call in the theater stage right. Please sing a chorus and then we're going to take it out so we don't go over time. Thank all of you for being, yea, verily, out of sight. Never ever so much that chorus. Everybody right. Shakespeare said, oh, yes, when he said, brother, brevity is the soul of wit. So that we end on time. Ladies and gentlemen, you sounded so fine. But I guess for night, that's just about it.
David Amram, everybody, give it up. David Amram, teaching us all about life and youth.
And the band is the Red Hat, Mr. Kevin Clare. Voice, thank you.